Most people think billion-dollar brands are built with venture capital, influencer hype, and ads everywhere. Five Guys is the opposite story. This is a company that basically said, we're going to do burgers and fries, we're going to do them obsessively well, and we're going to let everybody else chase shortcuts. And that stubbornness turned into a global machine. Now here's why you should watch this one until the end. Because the secret behind Five Guys is not some magical marketing trick. It's a business discipline most founders absolutely hate because it feels slow, boring, and annoying. But it's also the exact discipline that creates real cash flow, real leverage, and real wealth. And at the end of this video, I'm breaking down 7 concrete lessons you can copy directly into your own business or income strategy. Lessons that Five Guys followed quietly while everyone else chased hype. Today, Five Guys is a $3 billion burger empire, thousands of locations around the world, a brand recognized almost everywhere. But the real story isn't how big it became. It's how quietly, patiently, and intentionally it was built. Let's rewind to 1986. Five Guys started in Arlington, Virginia, and it was a family decision, not a startup pitch. Jerry and Janie Merle and their sons took a simple idea seriously. Do one thing, do it better than everyone else, and do not compromise. From day one, they made choices that sound small, but they are not small at all when you run the math across thousands of locations. Fresh beef, no freezers, no microwaves, hand-cut fries, peanut oil. That's not a vibe. That's an operating system. And that operating system does 2 things. First, it creates a product people actually crave. Not it's fine crave. The kind of product that makes you bring a friend, then argue about it later, then compare everything else to it. Second, it forces discipline. If you remove the shortcut tools, you have to build a culture that executes. And execution is the real asset. While most fast food chains optimize for speed, cost, and menu sprawl, Five Guys went the other way. They kept the menu tight. Burgers, fries, drinks. Later, you see expansions like shakes in many markets. But the core idea stayed the same. The product is the headline, not the novelty. This is where the story gets interesting for entrepreneurs. Five Guys did not explode overnight. They grew like a business that expects to be alive in 20 years, not like a brand trying to win this quarter. By 2001, they had 5 locations around the Washington, D.C. metro area. That's 15 years after the first store. 15. Most founders would call that slow. Five Guys called it control. Because here's what happens when you grow slowly with standards. You get reps. You learn what breaks. You tighten systems. You fix suppliers. You build training that actually works. You find out which things must never change and which things can be flexible. You get boring, and boring is where the money hides. Then came the moment that looks like a business decision, but it's really a philosophical decision. Franchising. Early in 2003, they began offering franchise opportunities, and within under 18 months, they had sold options for more than 300 units. That is the pivot from local legend to national machine. But they did franchising in a way most people do not. Most brands franchise because they want growth fast, and they want other people's money to pay for it. They start chasing unit count like it's a scoreboard. That's when standards die. That's when customer experience becomes random. That's when the brand becomes a lottery. Five Guys treated franchising like a replication problem. How do we scale without losing what makes this special? So they enforced consistency. They protected the product. They protected the process. They made it harder to improvise. They did not want franchisees to get creative. They wanted them to execute, and that's why the brand didn't implode under scale. Here's a brutal truth that people in scale-fast culture hate hearing. If you scale before you have a repeatable, profitable unit, you are not scaling. You are copying chaos. Five Guys waited until the model could survive replication. That's why the growth that followed was not just growth, it was durable growth. At some point, the brand crosses into something powerful. People don't talk about it like a burger place. They talk about it like a standard. That moment is worth billions. Because when your product becomes a standard, your marketing cost drops. Word of mouth becomes a flywheel. Customers do the selling, and your competition is forced into price wars while you compete on preference. And yes, Five Guys is premium priced in many markets. Sometimes people complain about it, but the lesson is not charge more. The lesson is earn the right to charge more. Now let's talk about why this story matters for wealth building, not just business building. Most founders chase exits. They want a big sale, a press release, and a moment where they feel like they made it. The problem is, exits are one-time events. Cash flow is forever if you keep ownership. Five Guys stayed privately owned by the Merle family. That matters, because when you own a profitable, scalable machine, you are not begging for liquidity. You are creating it continuously. This is also why the Five Guys story quietly embarrasses a lot of VC-backed restaurant failures. VC money pressures speed. Speed pressures compromise. Compromise pressures brand dilution. Dilution kills pricing power. Then margins get thinner, operations get messier, and suddenly the growth story becomes a restructuring story. Five Guys avoided that trap by doing the unsexy thing. They built the unit economics. They protected the product. They scaled with standards. They kept ownership. And over time, that discipline turned into what looks like an unfair advantage. Because it is. Today, they're operating at a massive scale, with close to 2,000 locations globally, and the company itself is still anchored to the same boring obsession that started in one Virginia shop. The growth is big, but the principle is simple. You do not get a premium brand by acting like a commodity. Now let me give you the copy this part, the stuff you can actually apply to your business and your money. Lessons you can copy from Five Guys. First lesson, win with standards, not slogans. Write down the 3 to 5 things your business will never compromise on. Product quality, speed, service, refunds, whatever matters. Then build the operation around protecting those standards, even when it costs you short-term profit. Second lesson, keep the menu small, keep the execution perfect. If you sell too many things, you get average at all of them. Pick a narrow offer, then refine it until customers become your marketing team. Third lesson, prove unit economics before you scale. Before you add location 2, before you hire a team, before you run ads hard, prove that one unit makes money predictably. If one unit is not profitable, scaling is just multiplying stress. Fourth lesson, build systems that survive replication. Document training, processes, supplier standards, and customer experience. If you cannot explain how to reproduce results, you cannot scale without dilution. Fifth lesson, use growth as a reward, not a rescue. Most brands expand because they need growth to hide problems. Five Guys expanded after it had a model worth copying. Fix the core first, then scale the core. Sixth lesson, do not sell too early, build cash flow and leverage. A big exit is cute. Ownership of a cash-flowing machine is wealth. Focus on building something that pays you repeatedly. Selling should be a strategic decision, not a validation craving. Seventh lesson, price is not the strategy, preference is the strategy. Compete on being chosen, not being cheaper. If your customers choose you because you are the lowest price, you are one competitor away from losing. And if you're serious about leveling up your business and wealth game, hit subscribe for more. This is Money Tane. Stay disciplined, stay intentional, and I'll catch you in the next one.